Kelpieone here on Stainedglasscuts. 2 videos ago, I showed you how you can make stained glass donuts, C's or O's. Then in my last video, how you could turn them into glass rings. And in this video, I'll show you how you can fuse the rings together. When I was first trying to figure out how to join the rings, I went to my trusty plumber's chain. And actually, the links worked pretty well. However, only the Campbell brand of plumber's chain was sufficiently long enough to work. Here's a mobile I made using this method. But that was a lot of brass and a lot of time. How could I simplify? Could I fuse these rings together? Rings made with 1/2-inch wide donuts are pretty stable, meaning they don't move a lot when refired. But I figured if they were just pushed together against each other in a kiln and fired a second time, they'd probably pull away from each other. We saw that contraction in my last video, that viscosity thing. So how could I make them attract? I needed something to bridge the gap, a matchmaker. So I did some testing. In test 1, I took a 1/4-inch square of clear glass and propped the rings on top of it. This worked pretty well, but the clear piece of glass didn't blend well and is clearly visible. This method was also too hard to set up when joining more than 2 rings together. I think clear noodles might work better, but they were back-ordered, so that's another option to try. In test 2, I took a 1/4-inch piece of clear glass and propped it between the 2 rings. It leaned against one ring more than the other. This came out better than the first test. However, the clear piece of glass is still visible and it's not centered. In test 3, I took a 1/2-inch piece of 2mm black stringer and balanced it in the middle. Better still, however, the resultant line was thicker than I liked. In test 4, I took a 3/4-inch piece of 1mm black stringer and balanced it between the 2 rings. This produced the best results by far, so I made a mobile using this technique. So I started by making a whole bunch of rings. But wait, what happened here? All of the donuts were separated when they went in the kiln, but somehow these 2 joined together. Ah, the coefficient of expansion. These donuts expanded, pushing into each other, and then melted. Could I just put all the donuts next to each other and end up with joined rings? First test. Yes. Second larger test. Ooh, no. Too much movement. Some of the donuts were pushed out of contact on expansion. Okay. But what about putting rings together? next to each other without a stringer. Yes, that worked. But when I went larger, no. So here's what I learned. If the donuts or rings are pushed into contact by expansion and maintain that contact until their edges melt, they'll fuse. But if their contact is broken by movement during expansion prior to melting, they will not fuse. However, here are some examples of how this expansion can be used. Jewels, rings, flat discs, and more jewels. Okay, back to the rings. So I went with test 4 with one modification. Instead of 3/4 inch pieces of stringer, I used 1/2 inch pieces of 1 millimeter clear stringer, balanced between the rings. I wanted to see how the fused rings would look without the black line. And here's how I set them up. Into the kiln. And success. 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 For this one, there were 33 pieces of balanced stringer. Trust me, you don't want the jitters when you're placing the stringers. And here's my next design, 24 connection points. Hope you found this video interesting. Thanks for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Cheers!